Hi both, welcome to today's session. Today would be our first session related to fundamentals of ABAP, and these fundamentals what we are going to discuss will remain same irrespective of whether you are a core ABAPer or BW related ABAPer or there is something called HR ABAP or SRM ABAP. Fundamentals remain same because the syntax remains same. All we are going to learn in this section would be the basic syntaxes which will be commonly used to achieve any kind of requirement in the future. Okay, so as a BW consultant, there are some places in our entire BW ETL flow wherein the customization would be needed. So for that reason, we as a BW consultant will depend on Core ABAPer. So in order to bypass that dependency, we will go with if we are comfortable with ABAP also, that dependency can be avoided and you can be a independent consultant. Whether you are aware of HANA or not, it doesn't matter, but main thing is in every single flow there will be a customization at multiple places, and you will rely on ABAP one or the other way, and has that. But earlier there was a cases where there used to be a dedicated ABAPer in your BW project. People used to say they are pure BW consultant, they don't know ABAP, and for the achieving any ABAP requirement, those BW consultant used to explain the requirement to ABAPer, and ABAPer is to help this BW consultant to implement the required custom logic. But as the time evolves and the industry gradually expect different things from consultants because people are getting paid very well, that is one thing, and clients also more mature and they also wanted to cut down the billing on the multiple headcounts. That's the reason nowadays if you are even 2 years of experience or 5 years of experience, right, people expect ABAP. People expect many more things. It is not only ABAP. They want you to be full-fledged consultant who know BO, BODS, BW and all. But you guys are very lucky because you guys are already expert in BO, and you can literally say like you are full-fledged BO and analytic consultant because anything we throw related to BO, you guys can handle for sure with your experience. And after completion of the training, you guys will be good with even BW and ABAP. So that would be more than enough to handle and become independent consultant or to work on any independent projects. Okay, or either as a freelancer or your consultants. So as part of this training, we'll start from very basic how to create a very simple ABAP program, what are different data types available in SAP, and how to write if statement, case statement, else statement. Will also take commonly come across BW requirement in the transformation, right? BW ABAP requirement in the transformation to learn our fundamentals, so that when we go and discuss those aspects in the actual BW related topics, you guys can easily correlate because we have already discussed those topics here, and it is like a repetitive, and you can easily correlate there, right? So before learning any programming language, obviously we have to learn the features of that particular programming language, right? So let us try to learn the features. This is my blog which I have written very long time, but the features of ABAP program and ABAP editor remain same. It won't change. If you want to refer, you guys can refer this oneabap.blogspot.com, wherein there are a lot of core ABAP related articles are there. I didn't update post that, only few things I updated. So coming to the features of ABAP programming language, every programming language will have its own features, correct? Syntax of ABAP program is similar to COBOL. When SAP started implementing this ABAP programming language, right, or when they started developing, they referred most of the syntax from COBOL. If somebody is aware of COBOL, they can easily correlate. More than 60 to 70% of the syntaxes will overlap. But it is not necessary that COBOL is requirement to learn ABAP because it is very plain English kind of language. Okay. And ABAP statement and keywords are case insensitive. Mean to say whether you write a code in uppercase or lowercase, it doesn't matter. Okay. So you can write a code in lowercase and by a single button click, you can convert everything into uppercase or you can convert everything into lowercase, or you can also do mixed case. SAP reserved keyword can be uppercase, all your custom code can be lowercase. Okay. But system won't differentiate. Clear? That is your custom setting based on your preference. You can change the look and feel of the program accordingly. And custom ABAP object must start with YRZ and can be extendable up to specific number of character based on each and every objects. Like our Info objects or DSOs or cube has to be start with Y or Z, right? Custom objects, even in BW. Likewise, even in ABAP, custom ABAP object has to start with Y or Z. Clear, guys? Any doubts here?
No, Venu.
Uh,
Ah,
uh, so, so, so Venu, like, this a variable thing. This is also the, if I give a variable name, say, in different cases, will it consider the variable as same variable or different variable?
it will be same variable. This is case
Same
insensitive.
variable.
You
Okay,
can
okay,
convert everything to uppercase, lowercase, or mixed case based on your preference in your local
okay,
editor.
okay.
If somebody has
And
written a
this,
program, we'll see that. If somebody
right,
has written a
and this,
program, if you just click on one of the button, it will check what
uh,
is your local preference. Based on that, system will immediately convert
change.
everything into upper or lower, only SAP result keyword into upper, and it will also do
Okay,
indentation. For example, somebody has not followed the indentation. The code is
okay.
looking messy. If you enable that indentation option, when you click on that button, everything will be indented and properly it will present with the indented form.
I mean, one of my friend has told me that, in companies, it is not necessary that Y or Z is the only thing which is applicable. It is sometimes you can buy the, thing from the
Yes,
SAP and
SAP,
then,
those are called custom namespace. Again,
okay,
generally, earlier people used to use it, now people don't care actually. Generally, they
okay,
buy custom namespace, it will start with slash followed by whatever the name these custom people, company people will give. But this
okay.
will be
So
by
it is,
unlocked by default. You don't have to pay any extra money or custom namespace.
this is for learning purpose, but in real time,
No, no, no,
this
this is
doesn't
real
happen,
time
right?
only.
Okay,
See, custom namespace, if somebody is very specific that my program or object has to start with only this
mm,
naming, or that pattern, then only they have to give extra money to SAP and buy that custom namespace. Otherwise, you don't need. And these are used real time only. It's not test objects. These are real object. If you are not moving, it will become a test object. If you are moving across the landscape, it will be a real objects.
okay, okay. So I can move the things with Y and Z also, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
We
okay.
cannot create any other object except Y and Z. Plus, if at
Uh-huh.
all you have buyed any custom namespace, you can create with that. Apart from that, it will not support anything else also.
Okay, sure, sure.
And ABAP is case sensitive during comparison. Next statement. When you are trying to compare a value stored in a variable with respect to something, for example, you are trying to compare Sanjay, which is in uppercase, a variable, a particular table has a particular column as Sanjay, everything was in uppercase, but you are trying to hard code that with a lowercase. You are comparing one value with the other value. That it is case sensitive. If entire cases are same between two variable or two values, then only the comparison will be success. Otherwise, it will say failed. Clear? Uppercase US01 will be treated as different than lowercase US01. If both are uppercase, then the condition check will be true. Otherwise, it will be false. Clear?
Yes.
So coming to next expression, so like C programming, every programming language has to end with in every programming language, every expression has to end with something, right? In C, it has to be semicolon, Java semicolon. Semicolon indicate it is the end of current expression. Anything after semicolon will be treated as next expression, correct? Likewise, even in our BW also or in ABAP also, every expression has to end with what? Full stop. Okay. So full stop indicate end of current line. Next statement. The token within a statement must be end with at least one space. When you write an ABAP code, right, you cannot write everything without giving any space. Because even we as a human being cannot understand if I write, I am going to learn SAP without giving any space, correct? Like that, there has to be a space so that we can interpret, our brain can interpret. Like that, even ABAP programming also, it expect whenever there is a ABAPer who is writing a code, between two words, there should be at least one space or more than one space. Clear? So that the system can understand. Those are the features of ABAP program. Any doubts in this, guys?
One small thing, Venu, is like, if I continue a statement to next line also and I don't
It
put a
works.
semicolon, it will be like, the same single statement, right?
Yes, you can extend the statement to any number of line. Only when the system come across full stop, it will treat that is the end of that expression.
Okay, okay,
Between
sure.
previous full stop and next full stop, you can put the statement in any number of line. There is no issue.
Yeah.
That's the features of ABAP programming language. Coming to the features of ABAP editor, the editor is similar to Notepad. All the shortcut what you can use in Notepad like Control C, Control V, Control X, Control S, you can still use it even in Control ABAP editor. Okay, wherever you can write an ABAP code. And in order to toggle between display mode and change mode, either you can use that pencil symbol which you see in RSA1, or else you can also use Control plus F1 shortcut. But that symbol is also there. You can use that button. Control plus F2 to check the syntax, or syntax check button to activate. You can use Control plus F3 or activate button. I symbol will be there, right? And there is something called comments in every programming language. What are these comments? These are not the codes, these are just a metadata which is just we'll be writing these comments just to give some high level explanation why we have implemented that logic, or as part of which project we have implemented that logic, so that people can easily understand what has been implemented, or people can get to know as part of which project or announcement people have done that. Clear, guys? So any doubts in features of ABAP editor? Great. So now coming back to our slides, mm, SAP in ABAP, uh, even when we create an info object, right, we saw it will support integer, character, date and all, right? These are the primitive data types in any programming language. In ABAP also, these are supported. What are data types? Data types will indicate what kind of data a particular field is capable of storing, correct? If it is Aadhaar number, it's of character 12 or numc 12, correct? Because it is going to store only the number. Or if it is a name, it can go up to 50 character or 100 character based on the actual length which is maintained in the backend database, right? If it is amount field, it's an integer. If it is a quantity field, it will be a number or integer. If it is a date field, it will be in the format of YYYY correct? These data types will indicate what kind of data a specific field can store, correct? So in order for our programming or for any table, all those things will use the same data types. We'll make use of these to learn our fundamentals to create a variable and all. So we'll see each of these variable in detail, or the data type in detail as we go further. So let us try to create a very simple ABAP program, and we will see that program in detail. And the approach what we are following now, we are unknowingly learning classical ABAP reporting, which is actual deliverables of the core ABAPer. Okay, even on a live scenario, you'll be creating a similar programs what we are going to create now, because these are independent executable programs. Okay, it is not dependent on anything. You write a code, you implement your business logic, and you print the output, you can see the output. Whereas if it's a BW generic extractor, we have to write a logic and see the output in your generic extractor. So that's the reason we are following a easier approach, so that you can write any piece of logic and you can test it. You don't have to wait till your BW flow is ready and all, so that you are ensuring whatever the logic which is given as a requirement can be achieved over here and can be tested very sooner, and then you can just copy paste the code from here to there. Okay, so let us get into the system. So I am in EC system. Even in BWC system also this remains same, whatever we are going to discuss, the fundamentals. There's a T code called SC38. Okay, SC38 is a T code for ABAP editor. You can execute that. Here you can manage or create your program. This is the T code for ABAP editor. Okay, as I said, Venu underscore SS PGM1. I'm giving my program name. If the program was already available, there would have been valuable popped up. Since the program is not available, it is not showing anything. So you can click on create. When I click on create, there will be a pop-up window appears. In this pop-up window, we have to give the title of this program and program type. Rest all the other fields are optional fields. Clear? Title I can say my first ABAP program. Okay. Program type, see there are different types of ABAP objects. All those things are out of scope for us. In our training, we'll be seeing executable program, include program and function group. Okay. Rest of the things are related to core ABAPer or HR ABAPers. So coming to executable, and even executable also is not relevant to BW ABAPer. But using executable program, we can learn our logic efficiently or the ABAP programming efficiently, and also we can implement the logic and test. It is like a rapid prototyping is possible. Clear? So that's the reason we are learning executable programs. And now all other objects are optional, but since it is your very first program, let us see each of that optional parameter also in detail. Status, you can choose from one of these objects: SAP standard production program, customer production program, system program, or test program. If it is a test program, you can choose test program. Or if you are going to, if core ABAP was creating this program to achieve some need, means you would have chosen as a customer production program. Whatever the SAP delivered objects will, they will mark this those program as SAP standard program. But you can choose anything. There is nothing like if I choose SAP standard program, functionality will change. No, these are just a metadata. You can choose anything, but choose appropriately. Okay. Now application, it will just give you the SAP's module, different module like basis, business information warehouse, accounting, FICO, HR, all those things. You can choose your area accordingly. Authorization group, if there is any authorization group created by SAP, they will tell. We can just search that authorization group from F4. What happens over here is people belongs to that authorization group can execute or even access the program. Logical database will be used by HR ABAPer. You can skip that. Selection screen, like we know BIX, right? In the BIX report, there can be a selection screen like that. When ABAPer create their own ABAP ALV reports or classical reports, they can have the selection screen. System will generate a screen number by default that will be populated automatically. Okay. Next, if you see, there's a checkbox called editor lock. By default, it is not checked. Ideally, it is not recommended to check. If you check this, nobody else apart from my current user can edit this program. Assume that Sanjay was doing these changes to the program and he has been offboarded from the project. Now, if Shadab want to change this program, he cannot do that. Again, he have to come to this screen. He has to remove this, then only it will allow. Otherwise, it won't allow other user to edit or manage the specific program created by other user. Clear? And fixed point arithmetic, it will just add the necessary libraries in the backend for performing addition, subtraction, multiplication and all. There is something called Unicode check active. Since you guys are there in the industry close to 10 years and mobile, all these digital things got evolved recently only, right? Earlier we were having only ANSI standards. It was supporting only 128 characters digitally, starting from capital A to Z, small a to Z, 0 to 9, some symbols like plus, minus, at the rate, underscore, all those things. That's it. Earlier, we were not able to represent Hindi digitally, Kannada digitally, Telugu, Tamil, Marathi, or even Chinese, Japanese digitally, right? So there was an, you might have also noticed during your college days, you guys might have got your smartphones during that, or you might have visited some website 5 years or 10 years back. That time you would have noticed if the website is regional website and if you're trying to access that from your mobile phone, the character was not rendering properly. It used to show as box, 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 or even SMS or WhatsApp messages, right? Have you noticed something like that?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
So, because the device what you are using to render that destination text, right, it was not supported by Unicode. What exactly is a Unicode standard? Unicode standard is a standard similar to your ANSI, but in the Unicode, you can represent any language which is there in the word, which is having its own script, right? Any recognized language will have for its character sets specific set of Unicode already assigned. For example, in the A, I, E, I is having a specific Unicode assigned, which is very unique in the world, okay, which is defined by the global entity. So all our mobile phone, smartphone, or even your laptop, desktop, everything is now pre-installed with these Unicodes. So whenever that unique value comes, it will interpret and it will convert into respective the text or representable or understandable text. Clear? If your device is not having Unicode, if you try to see any data which is having or followed Unicode standards, you will have that issue showing as box box box. Clear, guys? So SAP was not supporting Unicode before BW 7.x version or ECC 6.0. Earlier version of SAP, there is no this concept of Unicode. There was a major technical upgrade from SAP side. Earlier, we were using SAP R3 4.6C system in SAP ECC. Before ECC, we were calling as SAP 4.6C. Okay. From that, ECC 6.0 is the major technical upgrade. That time they introduced this Unicode. Even for BW also, 3.x systems were not supporting Unicode. 7.x started supporting Unicode. Okay. So that time, if you have thousands of programs or 10,000 program, you have to go to every single program and enable this particular checkbox. Got it? Why? They would have also made this to be applicable for all the program which is present in the system. They didn't do. The reason for being that is it's a right time, because you are doing lot of technical activity during that upgrade. It's a right time for you to understand and identify what is the actual program which is needed in the production. Correct? That's the reason. If there are 10,000 program, you have to go and open manually. There is no shortcut also given by SAP. Go and they have given an explicit checkbox. You have to enable this. Okay, once the system is Unicode, also if you remove this checkbox, it will throw an error. You have to, by default, that's the reason system has enabled this. Clear? What is the importance of Unicode?
Yes. Yes.
And start using variant. If you have a selection screen and if you have saved some default variant, it will run with a default variant. That's it. So main thing is title and program type are mandatory field. Clear? Click on save. When you click on
Very
save,
what? Very what is logical database? I didn't get it.
logical database will be used by HR ABAPers.
Okay. Okay.
So they follow different concept. There will be logical unit of tables, and from that they are going to pull the data instead of directly pulling data from base tables. There is some different concepts. So package, either if you have any package, you can use that. Otherwise, if it is a local object, you can use that as a, you can save as a local object. So we successfully created a program. It came to next screen. So since we created a program which is an executable program, which is nothing but a report program. That's the reason you see report followed by this program, and the code, it has inserted one line of code. Clear? Any doubts, guys? So now see, by default every expression has to end with what? Full stop. It has introduced full stop. Now when we learn any programming language, we'll see create a program to display some message to user, right? Even in ABAP also we have a statement, write statement. Write statement is used to print something to the user. Okay. Again, see, I have to put full stop. If I'm not putting full stop, it will throw an error. Now to check the syntax, either you use this symbol or control plus F2. See what it says, it is syntactically correct. Now it is inactive or revised. In order to activate, you use this symbol, control plus F3. See, the program become active. Now if you just execute F8 button, you'll be able to see, hi both, welcome to SAP BW ABAP. Clear? So we successfully created a very simple program, ABAP program, and it is printing some data to the user. Any doubts in this, guys? Now,
And we have to write with slash colon slash, correct?
colon slash has its own importance, is just for the formatting purpose. Without this also it will work. What the forward slash will do, because people were doing classical reporting, right? Earlier the even reporting also not so matured. For that you have to format the syntax manually. For example, I am printing this. If I am going to print one more line, if I am not using forward slash, it will print in the same line. Forward slash will tell to the compiler, print this starting from the new line. Okay, and
What
colon
about
will tell
colonial?
you can print multiple things separated by comma. So you don't have to put write command every single time. Write command will be applicable to this and anything after comma also. Like write command will be applicable to all the entities which is separated by comma. Clear? See, hi both, welcome to BA Web. Sanjay also it is printing. If I remove colon, it will throw an error. See, already it is showing red symbol because whatever the right which I am applying, right, it will be applicable to this. In order for this to be applicable to anything after comma, we have to put a colon. This will be exactly same as what I will tell you. See, this will be exactly same as right and followed by got it. This syntax is exactly same as this syntax. Got it? Because we have colon, so write command will be applicable to this, and write command will be applicable to this. If you are not going to put colon, then you can have to write separate statement. Write this, write this. Clear? This will come in formatting, which is again out of scope and it is not being used also. See, hi both, welcome to SAP BA ABAP. It is printing. Now instead of this statement, I will replace this with this statement. Now we don't have colon. Okay, again it is printing the same. What it is doing, it is printing this line and it's also printing this line. Now we don't have that forward slash, right? That's the reason it is printing this Sanjay also here only. If I put forward slash here, now you can check Sanjay is being printed in the next line. Got it? That's the reason as a general practice we'll put every write commands write colon forward slash, so that there could be a possibility of you to print hard coded value separated by comma with some variable value comma something else. So colon will be to ensure write is applicable to everything separated by comma. Forward slash will tell to the compiler to print whatever we are giving here in the next line or new line. Got it?
Yes, right.
Now we created a simple ABAP program. Let us see how to create a variable. As of now, we printed what? Hard coded value. And if I remove the full stop, you can check the syntax. See, it clearly says there is a syntax error at row number 11. And what it also says, it will give the information related to that error also. The last statement is incomplete or period, which is period is missing. It clearly give you most appropriate, very close information related to the error so that you can easily fix it. That is the one beauty of ABAP programming language. Clear? Now we printed hard-coded value. Let us see how to declare a variable. In order to declare a variable in ABAP, you will be using a keyword called data. Data LV underscore message type string, integer, character. You can give anything, or table name hyphen field name, or any data element name, or if it is BW, again BW table name hyphen field name or data element name. Okay. So now the syntax remains same. Data is the keyword which is used to declare a variable, and this is the variable name. You can give anything, LV underscore Santosh, Shadab, Sanjay, or L underscore Sanjay based on the naming convention. Generally either people will use LV or L to declare a variable, local variable. For declaring a global variable G, people use different naming convention in their own project. You can follow that. Give some meaningful name for every variable, that's it, so that by looking at the variable name itself you can get to know what kind of data it might be storing. Okay. Type, you have to give the reference type, whether it's a string, integer, character, or whatever it can be, you have to give that. Clear? Now what we did, we declared a variable lv underscore message which is of type string. Now this variable is going to store what kind of data? This variable is going to store via string type of data, but it is blank as of now, right? So what we will do now is we will initialize the value to this variable lv underscore message is equal to, earlier we had this hard coded value, correct? Now that hard coded value I'm assigning to a variable. Now Before this statement, my variable was blank. Now after execution of this statement, this variable is going to hold this data. Now in the write command, I can also print a content of a variable. Got it, guys? When you go with that, you can print the content of a variable now. So this is how your program will be very easier. If you have a very complex logic, you don't have to wait till your entire BW flow is readily available. You can create a simple ABAP program like this and implement a logic and use write command to print the output, so that you will get to know, pass something as an input, test data as an input, and at the end you print the final variable as an output using a write command, so that you will get to know the logic what you are going to implement is going to fine even if you copy paste this logic or if you implement the same logic in a different place. Got it, guys? Any doubts in this, guys?
No way.
I mean, just one small thing, like, what does this activation actually do? I mean, why we do activate and syntax checks? I understood that, okay, we were trying to see whether the semicolon is missing or full stop is missing.
Correct.
What what difference this activation makes?
See, activation, what it will do is it will check. See, it is not necessary that you might do the syntax check, correct? It doesn't mean that it might be you are not going to introduce any more syntax check later, correct? It depends on how the SAP has been implemented or any programming language has been implemented. Okay.
Okay,
There are cases where Python, you don't have to literally activate the program. The compiler will do the compilation on the go as and when you keep changing the code, correct?
okay,
How they will implement the language or the framework. There are programming language which you don't need to activate explicitly. If you just save it, it will check if there is any error. It will show if there is any
mm,
error, you have to fix it. Whereas in SAP, what they have done is syntax check is used to check the syntax whether the logic is as expected by the whether all the logic what you are implemented is as per the SAP's expectation and whether those are valid. Then when you do the activation, what it will do, it will generate a binary code, you can say, thus interpreter understandable code,
okay,
so that your compiler can interpret that, correct? Even C programming also, what you will do, you will save this and compile it. When you compile, what will happen, it will generate a binary file or bex file, dex file, whatever it can be. Clear?
okay.
But activation will ensure the latest changes are committed in actual backend database or the program repository, something like that.
Okay.
So
And other
now,
thing is,
go ahead.
one last thing also is, like, if I say this type string, if I say character, will it store only one character,
Yes, we'll
or I
see
can
all
store
those.
string?
Yes, we'll see that.
Okay.
So now we declared a variable and we assigned a constant like hard-coded value. If you execute the output program, it is exactly same as previous version, correct? Earlier we were directly printing hard-coded value in the write command. Now we are printing value stored in a variable. Now you understood write command is used to print the value stored in a variable, correct? Since our variable is of type what? String, it can accept more than one value. Instead of string, give me C character and activate it. Just a second, guys. So we change the reference type from string to character, correct? Now execute the
Mm.
program. It is printing what? How many character? Only one. By default, character will take or store only one length. When I declare a variable of type C, my variable can hold character type of data and maximum one. Clear? You can also not give any reference, then also it will become character of length 1. See, this got activated. It is printing only one. Means without, if you give reference type also, by default it will become a variable of type C with length 1. Got it?
Okay.
Type C. If you want to specify the length, you have to specify one more optional keyword called length, followed by you specify the number 10, 20, 30, whatever. Got it, guys? Now my variable is of type character and it can store up to 20. So 20 is ended here. That's the reason it is printing only till that time. Clear?
So for character, we only specify C.
Yes, see, and you have to explicitly specify the length if you want length to be more than 1, otherwise it will be by defaulted to 1. This is one way of specifying the length, adding length keyword space the number, or else after your variable name itself you can just put within a small bracket how many number of length this variable should be of. Okay, this syntax is exactly same as adding length 40 at the end. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, guys. So
So
now,
we know how by creating these programs, how are we going to use this in our BW? Like,
see, we are learning, we won't be using these kind of programs. Okay, assume that in your transformation or extractor you are going to pull data from a particular table, or else you want to read first two character of your um, just a sec, you guys can hear me?
yes, 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 we can
Okay,
hear.
since this guy is gone, so we will implement the logic. See, assume that you have a transformation in that first name, middle name, and last name is there. You have to populate logic to a single column of your target info provider. You are loading data from one DSO to another DSO. In the source DSO, you have three columns. In the target DSO, you are supposed to populate all these three columns value to a single column. For that, you have to write a ABAP code. Okay, we have to concatenate value coming from these
We
three
cannot hear
different
you.
fields to a single field. So in order to implement that logic or to know whether the logic which is there in your mind,
Man, we are not able to hear you.
you're not able to hear me. Okay. So
Right, right, right.
where were we? We were
No,
discussing on
no, I was asking like how we use the ABAP program in
yeah.
our.
So for the case which I was telling, right, three separate columns are there in the source. You are going to concatenate and populate to a single column, correct? For that you have to write a ABAP code. So you have the logic in your mind. You have to wait till your transformation to be ready to check whether the logic what you are going to write will work as expected. Correct. First thing is you have to have source info provider, you have to have target info provider, then you have to create a transformation, then the logic has to be implemented. So you are waiting for the data source to be completed, then only you can replicate the data source, then only you can create a transformation and all. So within that time, you can just create a simple test program like this and you can implement your logic to see whether whatever the logic which is there in your mind works as expected, correct? That's the reason we are going with this approach so that the logic, you can learn any logic for that matter using these programs because these are not dependent on anything. Whereas the logic which you are going to write in your routine is dependent on availability of source info provider, target info provider, and it is also dependent on creation of transformation and activation of the transformation. And also you should have data in a source, then only when you trigger a DTP, the data will get loaded to the target, then only you can see the outcome whether the logic is working as expected or not, correct? Whereas here you can just implement the logic, use the write command to print the output and pass some hard coded value to three different variables. Done, right? Once you see a couple of other program, whatever I just said now, you can correlate it. Okay, clear, Shadab?
Yes, yes, very.
So now character type is clear, right? Let us see how can we make use of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, the arithmetic operations, because these are needed when you want to sum two different amount value or you want to multiply unit price and quantity to calculate the net price, correct? You need to know what is the syntax to do that, correct? That's what we are learning. Then we will make use of whatever we have learned in whichever the place we wanted based on the requirement. If you don't know what is the syntax to do the calculation or some two different value, we cannot implement the logic, right? Now we are learning only the fundamentals of ABAP. Then when we move to actual BW logic, we'll take this concept, whatever we will be learning in our fundamental session and implementing logic there. Because if we directly try to implement logic there, again we have to discuss these fundamentals again there. That's the reason we are covering the fundamentals, and then once you are very clear with the fundamentals, we will make use of this logic in the BW related ABAP.
So one thing like in the transformation So do we really need a web program to implement this
Yes,
functionality?
yes.
So what is the use of the transformation in the BW side? What is how it is capable of if we are
See,
making use
BW
of a web program?
transformation, see, if you have all the data coming from source, you can load everything to target, correct? If you want to load the data as is, but if you want to do some calculation or derive first two character or a first four character from a date field, those kind of things you have to do the customization. Customization can be done only through a ABAP.
So my question is like every transformation, whatever transformation we are doing, that is implemented or achieved by a web program, correct?
Not ABAP program, if there is no customization required and if you have all the data required for target is present in the source info provider, you can do one-on-one mapping. But if there is any derivation needed, you have to go with ABAP. Derivation will mostly be there because
Uh,
if
so 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 BW is an ETL as well, correct? Like
yeah, this extraction is ETL. Data source is nothing but ETL. It will come in ETL part, right?
but ETL has
Extraction, transformation, and loading.
ETL has extraction and transformation. So how
Everything
about
is there.
transformation?
Transformation, that's what,
So
right? What is
BW,
transformation? You are going to define the relationship of a target. If you have a target table, that target table will get data from which field of the source. That is the transformation. And there are some basic stuffs which is can be done through some formulas given at the transformation level, not the complex thing, not the ABAP part. This customization is part of transformation. If something cannot be achieved using SAP standard delivered options, you have to go with ABAP. So you have to implement the logic. It is not that without ABAP can we implement? No. You cannot achieve anything and everything without ABAP. There are cases where you have to go with ABAP.
yeah, that's what I wanted to understand. Like it is fully dependent on the web program for any
See, it
smaller.
depends on requirement to requirement. If all the data is there already in the source, and if you are just loading only the data as it is to the target all the way to the report, you don't need ABAP. But those cases will be very little, right? You might have to create some calculated column. You have to calculate some multiplication of two different value, addition of two different values, stuff like that. Correct?
Oh, okay, got it.
Converting something into uppercase, converting something into lowercase, concatenating a value, splitting the value. All these things are general operation. This we cannot achieve directly via standard transformation option given by SAP.
Hello.
Sorry. So like your calculator, you can use plus, minus, star and forward slash to do addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. You can also use mod operator to find out the remainder when you divide one value with the other value. Okay.
Venu, are you sharing your screen? Because we are not able to see it.
Oh, maybe once the connection come back. No worries. So we'll be using plus, minus, star and forward slash to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay. Which is very common. The operator remains same in most of the programming language, and mod operator used to derive the remainder. The syntax would be you are going to calculate the value of result based on variable and variable 2. The operator can be plus, minus, star, forward slash or mod. For example, LV result is a variable. We are going to calculate and assign the value to this variable, which is the multiplication of content of LV var1 star LV var2. Content of these two variable will be multiplied and result of multiplication operation will be assigned to this. Clear? So now let us try to create one simple ABAP program. So declare a variable LV underscore num1 type I data LV underscore num2 type I data colon LV sum. We are declaring a variable which is of type integer. See, here I have used data separately and ended with a full stop. I am declaring a variable. To declare a variable, we have to use data. So I have separate data here, whereas here I used data followed by colon. Whenever we use colon, what happens? This syntax will be applicable to these, and this. Clear? Even in write also we saw colon, right? That can also be reused here. Got it? That's the reason. If you use colon, the data will be applicable to everything which is separated by comma. This will just save some time for you to type data for declaring a variable multiple times. Clear, guys? Both are one and the same. There is no performance improvement or anything. SAP has given two different ways. If you are comfortable when writing a data separately, you can go, or else if you can write a data colon and declare as many number of variables separated by comma, you can do that. Clear?
Yes.
Num1, 104, LV num2, maybe 50, 60. Let us take 50. LV sum. So we just initialize the variable. LV sum is equal to LV num1 plus LV num2. Clear, guys? Similarly, LV prod is equal to multiply content of number 1 star number 2. Similarly, if you want to find out the division operation, when you want to divide one number by another number and get only the result, you can get LV num forward slash LV num2. Means when I divide 104 by 50, it will divide 50 will divide 104 how many times? 2 different times, correct? In whole. So 2 will be assigned here. Here 154 will be assigned, and here the multiplication result will be assigned. Assume that you wanted to find out the remainder in the transformation or in your generic extractor, anywhere. When you go with actual thing, so you wanted to find out some remainder operation. Remainder. In that case, in order to find out the remainder, what logic will we use? Mod. See, main thing is what we are learning here matters. Are we going to create a similar program? No, in real time. For us, actual logic which is needed is this logic. But I cannot just write that logic without having this to learn our ABAP. We are just declaring that. In our transformation and all, we will just make use of this logic because already the variable will be there. If not, you create a local variable and use that logic accordingly. Got it? This is the business logic. This is the
So,
data.
in BW, the same operators and same thing will be applicable, right?
Everything is same.
Okay.
Because you are going to write an ABAP code only. There's nothing new which you are going to write.
Okay.
So now using write command, what I am going to do? Sum LV sum. See, actual logic which is needed. Assume that you wanted to multiply two things. You are just a newbie to ABAP. You don't know. But now you wanted to multiply two different variable values. So your lead has already told you that, or else you have to calculate 10% tax on a particular. There will be a variable and you have to calculate a value of new variable, and it will be the 10% of the actual amount what you are getting as an input. Now you have to implement that logic. So your lead has given an heads up. The transformation I will create, you have to implement routine to calculate the value for this. So now you don't have to wait till your lead to give the transformation. You can just create this kind of simple ABAP program just to see whatever the logic which you are planning to write, right? You can implement that logic here and see whether it is working. The logic is working. Then you can change the logic or the variable name accordingly in your the actual place where you are writing a code. You can just copy paste and change the variable names. Correct? Sum prod division. Just for understanding purpose, we are doing that. Nowhere in your BW transformation routine and all, these are not allowed at all. Okay. Write command is allowed only in your report program. Your generic extractor based on function module routine, nowhere this write command is allowed to be written also. If you write also, it will throw an error saying like these are not allowed. Got it?
And I think in BW, like we cannot say I, we have to say integer, right?
No, I is fine.
I is fine. Okay.
See, this is ABAP.
Right, right.
I is nothing but integer. I cannot
Integer,
write
yeah.
integer here. If you type
Yeah.
integer into EGR, it will throw an error.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So integer might be little wait. LV underscore div, right? And LV underscore integer is I or integer, both are one and the same.
Right.
Okay. C or char. C is exactly same as char also, but we cannot. But here we have to specify 1, 2, 3. There's a data element. Okay. Da, da, da. So now we created a program, we initialize the value and we are printing the output. Actual thing which you are supposed to implement in your routine or transformation or even in your BIX logic or even in your generic extractor is this logic. But to ensure whether the logic what you are going to implement is working as expected or not, you can quickly create this program within 2 minutes or 3 minutes and pass some hard coded value and print the output at the end. You will get to know based on this value what is the expected output. If it is coming, you can just copy paste the code in your place wherever you wanted to implement that logic and change the variable name. As simple as that. Clear? So now see the output. Sum of 104 and 50 is 154, product is 5200, division I can divide 104 by 52 different 2 whole time, and when I divide 50 into 200, remainder would be 4. Clear? So whenever you have a requirement to calculate a remainder, so it is not necessary that every logic we will be using. Whenever you wanted to multiply, you will use this logic. Whenever you wanted to calculate the remainder, you have to use mod operator. This is main thing, not what everything we have written, but that is required because you are learning the ABAP. Correct? Any other doubts in this, guys?
Yes. What about the float value?
Float value will be there. See, these are the primitive values, correct? If you take any programming language,
Okay, okay.
string is again a character, but it's a continuous character. Date is again of a character of type length what? 8 character, correct? YYYYMMDT.
Right,
Again,
right.
floating value is of a type of primitive type of integer, but they will make use of these and they will define length to all those things. Okay.
Sure.
You need to know the primitive types, but in actual program, right, we will be use referring instead of referring to primitive types, you can refer to table name hyphen field name so that this variable will take a technical property of a particular column of a table or particular column
Mm,
of a
mm,
structure. Okay, to make more meaningful program.
right.
Clear, guys? So those are arithmetic operator. We have something called conditional operator. Whenever you want have a logic to be checked or condition to be checked, means you wanted to check whether one value is equal to other value or a particular amount is greater than a specific amount, or a value coming from in a specific column of a record is greater than a so and so amount, or less than, greater than, or equal to, less than, or equal to. For example, if the current year coming in a specific column is greater than or equal to 2000, you wanted to apply some conversion rate, otherwise you wanted to apply some other conversion rate in a logic, then you will be using this kind of conditional operator along with a statement like if statement and all. We'll be seeing when we go to the if statement, we'll see that. But the operators are equal to symbol is used to calculate equality, NE or less than followed by greater than symbol is used to check the not equality, GT is used to check the greater than symbol, or greater than, you can use one of these to check whether one value is greater than other value. G for greater than or equal to, or you can pass greater than followed by equal to. Either G is also valid, even this symbol is also valid. For less than, LT or less than symbol, less than or equal to LE or less than followed by equal to symbol. Okay, we'll see this when we see the if statement. These are just an operator giving a net sub. Okay, similarly, you might have seen in your MCA, MBA, MCA, or even in high school also logic gates, AND gate, OR gate, NOT gate, or even in general English conversation, you will use, if you are not going to offer me a salary of 15 lakhs, I am not going to join. Why you are using not? If the salary has to be greater than, if it is less than that, you are not at all going to join because that is satisfying the condition. What not it will not will do, if the condition is true, that is going to make as false, or if it is, the condition is false, it is not going to make it true. It will negate. Correct? And when you use and in your expression, assume that you wanted to check two different condition. If my salary is greater than 20 lakhs, or if my salary along with the bonus is greater than 22 lakhs, if one of these conditions are, and when you use and means you have to offer me minimum 20 lakh salary plus 1 lakh joining bonus, then only I will be joining. And means both the condition has to be satisfied. Execute the logic if both the condition check are true. I'll be using an expression, right? If Shadab and Sanjay are available for tomorrow, I will have a session. Otherwise, I will not have a session. There are two conditions. Sanjay has to be available, Shadab has to be available. Correct? So, whenever you want to check two different conditions and when both the conditions are satisfied, then only you wanted to execute some logic, means you will use AND operator between two different condition check. Clear, guys? Or when we will use either this, if this condition is true or this condition is true, or if one of these condition is true, I wanted to execute some logic, some business logic, right?
Yes, yes,
Got it, guys?
yes.
So this you will use in actual real-time requirement when you wanted to do some business validation. Assume that you wanted to check if the company code is US01 and also the region is US, then only you wanted to apply some logic. Then you'll use if the company code is equal to US01 and the country key is equal to US. You are checking two different variable value and that has to be true to come inside that block to execute that business logic. Clear? We'll see this if statement, else statement, case statement, everything in detail. This is just a overview. Clear? So maybe that's all for today. In the next session, we'll see a couple of more example like how to translate something coming into something to uppercase, lowercase, or how to remove spaces in between a value. Because all these things will get as a real-time requirement in your BW transformation. Assume that in your source you are getting name in a lowercase. You wanted to convert everything into uppercase before loading data to target. Our business say like, see, there are cases where mixed case is there, lower case is there, some people are following uppercase. The data is not uniform. You convert everything to uppercase, right? Either you can write a code in the source level or the data source level if it is a custom data source. But if it is standard, you cannot do anything in the source system. So in your BW transformation, you can implement a logic to translate the value coming for a particular column to uppercase. Got it? Or lowercase, or even you wanted to concatenate two different value. Assume that there is a column, description or comment column is there. Unnecessary spaces are being introduced. It is not looking neat for the business or the higher management. What do they say? See, you know what, the data might be something like this: Venugopal multiple space M multiple space N, which is not even uniform. For this case like this, maybe I am going some comment column like the parts has been eroded, that's the reason it has been replaced. Some comment they have written, but there are multiple space, the data is not properly aligned, like spaces are multiple times introduced. Maybe the business user might got frustrated or the space might have been introduced purposefully or with technical errors. Okay, or they might be migrated or entered data from some means. So ultimately in your BEX report, they wanted data to be properly presented. They want you to remove the space. How can we remove the space? We'll see all those commonly used requirement in BW to learn our fundamentals so that you can also correlate. Got it? There are many scenarios like that. We'll see each of those scenarios in detail. Any doubts in today's session, guys? That's all for today. Thank you so much and have a good one.